So, hi everyone. I'm here with the wonderful Sara Judd, who is the founder and creator of Tutulist, like this wonderful sweatshirt that I'm wearing that I love so much, which I feel like is the dance world's best kept secret. And this is not sponsored in any way, but I'm so honored to be an ambassador for Tutulist. And Sara, I'm so excited to sit down and chat with you today. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited as well.
So, for those who don't know, can you tell us a bit about what Tutu List is? Because it's different from anything that I've found that's out there. And I was so excited when I discovered it.
Yeah, so Tutulist is the first online thrift shop for dancewear and costumes. And something that's unique about our platform that just hasn't existed in this space is that users have two options for selling dancewear. You can post it yourself, like we see with like Depop or Poshmark for normal clothes, but specific for dance clothes. You can turn on your cell phone, take a picture, post your items for sale. Alternatively, we have the Encore envelope, where let's say you don't want to deal with the hassle of doing every single item and selling and tracking. We have a service that allows you to sell us the items directly. We pay up front, and then Tutulist manages that inventory through the Tutulist Encore program. But the key difference here is, we're really focused on connecting dancers through dancewear. And one of the gaps that we noticed is, you have Facebook groups or selling things on Instagram, but there's no place for a user or for a dancer to go to say, look, I want a new black Yumiko or a gently used Yumiko, or I need to stock up on Fun Friday leotards. There was no place to actually look for what you're looking for. You're just choosing, do I want what's out there? And with Tutu List, we really solved that problem to have, more sustainable and more affordable dancewear options.
And you have everything. You have leotards and warm up gear and shoes and costumes and jazzwear and everything that you could possibly want all in one place.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we have it broken down by categories, and then we also have costumes available. Tutulist does not manage any costume sales, so we don't manage an inventory like we do for dancewear, but any user can also post former solos. There's a lot of custom costumes, so that's another thing that you can sell. And we have it divided, the site kind of split up, so it's easy for the user to be able to either look for dancewear or look for costumes, depending on what your needs are.
And I know it was so special for me when I discovered the site, like well before I knew you or was involved in any way, because for those of us who are in the dance community, and I'm a Broadway performer, 90% of what I wear is dance wear because I'm going to
Right.
rehearsal, I'm walking around in it, I'm going to auditions, I'm going to performances, and it can be really cost prohibitive. I know sort of my whole life I really couldn't dive into the world of dancewear to a certain degree because it is so expensive. And I've sort of discovered the fashion of it even more just in the past few years with all the wonderful independent dancewear companies that have cropped up. And, I've written and talked about this before, but I'm a very tall dancer, finding things that were the right fit and whatnot is something that sort of I've only discovered recently, those places where they offer that. And they're wonderful, wonderful companies, but, you can't always afford a $200
Mhm.
leotard or an $80 leotard, and sometimes you have things that don't
Mhm.
fit you anymore, so finding a place, like Tutulist that I could just go and find things that I could afford or sell things that I don't need anymore, it was kind of a godsend of having access to things that I really needed for my day-to-day life and didn't necessarily have access to any other way.
Right. Well, I always have kind of joked that I've been working to build the platform that I wish that I had as a dancer.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm a fellow tall dancer as well and ran
Yay.
into that same struggle. But I was thinking I've always loved fashion, and I've always loved, like, since I was 16, I've loved thrift shopping and being creative. Like, how can I maximize my wardrobe on a budget? And
Mhm.
I didn't always have that ability dancing because I had to choose between point shoes or tuition
Mhm.
or, fun, cool leotards. And, especially in college, it's very cost prohibitive, like you said. And what I love and what I feel excited about hearing, and was always my objective, is of course my goal is to make access to dance easier, but also access to expression. You
Mhm.
know, that we're in this expressive art form, and I have been excited that this opens doors for dancers to be able to express their style in ways that they might not have been able to before. And just kind of a funny story that I've thought about time and time again, but I wanted a Yumiko so bad when I was in college, and I went through the process. I spent my all my Christmas money. I got my Yumiko, and I hated it. Hated
Mm.
it. It just was too sheer for me, and I'm a tall girl, so it just, like, with my height, it just didn't work. So I had it in my drawer for 6 years, and I spent $100 on this leotard, and I think, "Man, that would've been so nice. I could have sold it,
Yeah.
turned right around and bought something that I loved." And so that's one of the things that I love, with the platform, is seeing dancers being able to, find exactly what works for their bodies, for where their bodies are at today.
It really is so important because I know that for so long, and I mean, it's not like it was that long ago, but when I was, young in dance school, we sort of had, those standard, like not the best cotton leotards that like we had to wear,
Yep.
and they never were long enough on me. And I just never felt comfortable in my body, and I always felt like I looked terrible. And the idea of like putting on a leotard and tights to go to class, like just made me feel ugh, even though I loved dancing. And suddenly discovering things like for me, I saved up like all my money to get my first elevate leotard, and suddenly finding something that fit right and was a softer fabric and flattered you, it opened up a whole other world, not just for sort of introducing me to like, oh, I can be invested in fashion and this is like a cool thing that I'm actually into, but finally like going into a dance class and be like, oh, I feel good and I feel like I look good,
Mhm.
and all that. And the fact that most dancers start so young, inevitably we all have dancewear in our closets that were our
Mhm.
school leotard when we were 8, and it's like I don't know what to do with this. And it's it's so wonderful that you're doing this, because there's also there's students out there that want to take class, and you can't walk into a dance class unless you have a leotard and you have tights and you have the ballet shoes, and it adds up and it gets expensive. And so I just think what you're doing is so wonderful, and it's also like sustainable for the planet, because then all these things aren't ending up in a landfill somewhere, which is really important and really great, and I don't see anybody else doing that.
Yeah, I think when I started, the inspiration for the business was really founded on, actually, my grandmother has a ballet studio, and when she was
Mhm.
retiring, I was helping her kind of get her affairs in order to sell her studio. And she had thousands of costumes. She had a costume barn. And I remember just thinking, like, almost like Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
Like when you think of these platforms, it's like, these studio owners have this asset and they just sit there. And studio owners, I think, are the hardest working people in the entire world, and they're all
Mhm.
angels. And I just thought there's got to be a way, where they can list. And then I started the whole business with costumes, and then I realized it's kind of like, are you in the wedding dress industry or the everyday fashion industry? Costumes are very subjective, and we're dancewear we wear all day, every day. And in this exploration process of what solutions are out there and what thrift options are out there, I just realized there's just this really big gap in the market. And um, sustainability, candidly, if I'm being, 6, 7 years ago, was just not at the forefront of my mind until I started researching and realized dance is extraordinarily wasteful, in that a lot of costumes, they require a lot of fabric, like a lot, like think about catalog costumes,
Mhm.
huge amounts of fabric that are worn once, and they either end up maybe at like a Savers for a Halloween costume, or just in someone's drawer or landfills. And so how can we be more creative and resourceful to create better access, but also, be better global citizens? And I think that, shopping gently used is in any area of life is a great way to do that.
Yeah. And you take such good care of the products that you sell. When I became an ambassador, you sent me this lovely welcome kit, and the leotard was just so perfect and pristine and looked like it just came off the rack. And you really do your job really well. It's beautiful the way you take care
Well,
of
thank
everything
you.
you're selling. So you used to be a professional ballet dancer, right?
Yes. So college, I was at the University of Utah, which
Mm.
obviously has the bridge program with Ballet West, and so and then I danced for local professional companies here in Salt Lake, and really where most of my career in dance has been in choreography. I've taught and choreographed for Ballet West and Ballet West students, and kind of all over the country. But yeah, my whole life has been eat, sleep, and breathe
Yeah.
dance, and specifically ballet. And then I've actually spent my last few years in finance and technology,
Mhm.
and I've just felt this gravitational pull back to the dance industry. And what's been very exciting for just me personally with Tutulist is it's a marriage between technology and innovation and my passion, which is dance. And so it's been a really fulfilling, business to see, growing and connecting with other dancers in ways I never could have imagined.
What would you suggest to other dancers that might either decide that they love the dance world but maybe don't want to be in a company, or maybe transitioning out of being a full-time dancer? Cuz so I do a lot of different things as well. I'm a Broadway performer, but I'm also a writer and I direct. And one of the things I found in the theater world is all of the sort of early classes and training and things for kids is all about acting. That's kind of what you can do. You can go act and
Hmm.
put on a show. And I know so many people that when they got to college were suddenly like, "Oh, I love design. I actually really want to be a designer. I want to be
Hmm.
a stage manager." And there were never any opportunities to discover this. So, what suggestions would you have for other dancers that are out there that are thinking like, "I want to do something in the dance world, but maybe not being a dancer, or I want to transition out of that," and finding sort of your path and other ways that you can be active in the dance world without necessarily being a dancer?
Yeah. Well, I feel extremely passionate about this. So I appreciate the question, because I think sometimes we corner ourselves in the dance world or in the performing arts where you either make it professional or you failed.
Mhm.
And I think that that's a really narrow scope for an art form that gives so much to its participants. For me, and in my experience, like, I'll hire dancers. Tutulist is pretty much run by all dancers. I've hired dancers locally. Our marketing person is based in Florida, and I'll tell you why: dedicated, focused, attention to detail, self-aware, can take constructive feedback. I mean, these are the pillars where you can have a degree in anything and go on to have a successful career in something totally unrelated if you have these core uh, principles as a person. And so the training that comes with dance, I think, just opens up so many doors to be able to apply yourself to a new sector. If you can be self-aware, if you can be hardworking, if you can be dedicated, all these qualities we see in dance, if you can apply that to technology or finance or real estate or teaching, I think you have a high likelihood of being successful. And sometimes I think dancers or people in the performing arts feel afraid, like they're in somehow giving up on it. But you never know. Like, I couldn't have ever imagined that this pathway would bring me to Tutulist, and I want to do this my whole life. Like it's like I'm so excited about it. And so I'm really big, and something I hope to do throughout my life is provide more structure and mentorship for creating careers that are supportive of healthy bodies and healthy selves and healthy finances, and so um, yeah, that's kind of, I don't know if that's necessarily advice, but I would say if you're getting pulled in another direction, you don't need to decide your whole life. Just be
Mhm.
open to the opportunities that come. And I think if you are, you might find some unexpected things come your way.
I also love that you kind of created an entirely new category of job for what you can do based on your interests. Because I think so often there's the thought, like, okay, well, if I'm not a dancer, I can teach or I can choreograph. And
Yeah.
it's kind of maybe I can be a dance photographer. And that's kind of like the range of things. And I love that you
Mhm.
got inspired and literally created a job that didn't exist and is perfect for you and your interests and what you want to do.
Yeah. Well, what I love is, I think dancers are creative. And I think that the dance world has so much opportunity for innovation. And as I've thought about Tutulist, it's an application of technology. And we've seen other groups like Tututix as an example, the ticketing system for studios and for small companies. I mean, that's been revolutionizing, performances and taking off so much work. Or when you think about some of the software for dance studio owners, or when you start thinking about ways to maybe connect, I have a lot of different tech ideas up my sleeve that I want to get into someday. But my main point is creativity breeds innovation. And
Mhm.
so I've been excited to be able to, I hope, like you said, create new pathways, which is an implementation of technology with the arts.
And I think it's so cool that you mentioned technology because I think so many people have more than one interest of things that they just like, not meaning that, like, to equal things that they're not sure like what they should major in college, but meaning I want to be a dancer, but I'm also interested by tech or by history or by these things. And it doesn't mean that you have to completely put that aside or ignore that side of yourself because you've chosen this thing, that it's possible to incorporate all of your interests into something that
Mhm.
you do as your career and that you really love doing.
Totally. And I think for me, one of the sparks of this different pathway was choreography. So when I was in school at the University of Utah's ballet program, they have a student showcase, so it's student choreography. And I was a freshman and in a really big class, and I wanted to you know get my name out there. I wanted to stand out, so I choreographed a dance purely just to so that I could perform in the show
Yeah.
and be involved. That that one step opened that actually my I'm a much better choreographer than I am a dancer.
Mhm.
And my connecting lighting with musicality, with costumes to create something for me, I didn't even mean for it to become my entire passion, when I was in school. But that didn't mean that I didn't take every single day in class seriously. So
Yeah.
that's again where I say, you know, be open to opportunities, and maybe you do it and you're like, whoa, that is not for me. But maybe you go, wow, this brought something up in me that I never even knew was there waiting to be kind of unleashed.
So, how did you go about actually taking this idea and implementing it? Because there's actually an enormous amount of steps that you had to take to make this successful, from building the website to setting up your business plan and the tech side of it and payment and all that. And then getting the word out there, because unlike maybe a dancewear company where you're creating something and then selling it, you need other people to post on your site in order for it to be successful. So, what were all of those steps, and what did you do to make it as successful as it is now?
Yeah, well, I had the idea and got started on the business in 2017.
Mhm.
And what's kind of cool is technology has changed drastically. So at that time, my only option was to build my own app if I wanted users to be able to sell their own product. And that can be like several $100,000, if not $1 million to do. I mean, that's just like to have something totally custom developed. So that wasn't an option for me. So I had to kind of brainstorm. And one of the things I kept thinking of is I and I appreciate that you said this earlier. I want to provide product that people trust and like. Like no one, I mean, I'm all, I would rather maybe you recycle that, cotton leotard where the colors faded and, the straps are stretched out. Would you want to buy that on a platform? I don't think I would. So, just because the platform exists doesn't mean we need to sell every single thing. Maybe those are things that we donate the fabric, and upcycle the fabric. So I kind of thought, how do we build trust with our users? And I just can't give that away to all sellers before we create a relationship with our buyers. And so what I decided to do, because at the time it was just me, is uh, go to studios and then buy dancewear on the spot. And
Mm.
I would take costumes on consignment, buy dancewear on the spot. And the dancewear was like, oh, if I'm doing dancewear on the spot, that will get people to come through the door, but it's really costumes I want. And so I used Shopify at the time, posted the items. I had an office where, like, after hours, after my work, I would be taking pictures and getting it all loaded. Well, what
Mhm.
ended up happening is the costumes took storage units to store. The dancewear was small, and I sold out of dancewear, and I sold like 4 costumes.
Mhm.
And that's when I realized, okay, people need dancewear every day, but costumes, I don't know if that makes sense because it's really subjective what you're looking for.
Mhm.
So we sold out of dancewear. I kind of had some other things going on in my life that I just had to put Tutulist on pause. And over the next couple years, it just was like just nagging at me. Almost, I always say like a gravitational pull. Like it just was like taking up so much space. Like I've got to do this. I've got to do this. So in 2022, I was like, you know what? It's the year of the tutu. It's 2022. I am going to just give it a go. And if it doesn't work out, I can just walk away and that's okay. Like just give it a shot this year. And so I got it started on Shopify again, immediately started having success on Instagram. And then we were able to build a platform and hire a developer to build an entirely new platform. And now there's technology that powers the back end, like a transaction engine.
Mhm.
So we were able to leverage new technologies that allowed us to build a beautiful platform, fully functioning for a lot less than what it would have been 5 6 years ago. And even that migration was really difficult to switch from Shopify to now the users had to sign up on a new platform, and
Mhm.
we did that last September. And now it's just, now we're in a very steady state. Like now the technology is where it needs to be. Users can come in, they can sell it themselves. We've implemented buyer protection. And so, really, what we see on our roadmap moving forward is supporting global orders more easily, and really just continuing to get the word out because one of the biggest struggles we have is keeping the supply to keep
Mhm.
up with the demand of product. And so, um, yeah, that's probably more than what what you wanted,
No,
but
no,
that's
that's all great
that's
and
the
wonderful.
backstory. Yeah,
What have been the
yeah.
main ways that you found that people have been discovering you?
Mostly Instagram, and I think that's one of the ways where if I'm being, critical of where we could do better is what we're planning for 2024 is we want to engage more with our communities. So
Mhm.
we've just primarily engaged solely through Instagram, and that has provided, I'd say, 80% of the growth.
Mhm.
And then the other, growth has just been organic traffic from people searching used dancewear, or, actually looking for what we offer.
Mhm.
But we've been pretty focused on just ballet because that's where my background is. And so in 2024, we're really excited. We're going to be doing pop ups around the whole country.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, because we want to meet with the people. I mean, this is so community oriented, just our like ethos is like, building community. And so we want to meet people and we want to engage, with our dancers wherever they may be. So, but yeah, right now it's been Instagram, but I'd say we're missing a lot of markets and groups of dancers who would benefit from the solution.
Mhm. And you're starting to create some of your own merchandise, like this lovely sweatshirt, like I said. Are you gonna be doing more of that in the future?
Yeah, so this is kind of funny. I was extremely reluctant to do any merch
Mhm.
because we're small. We have a small team. There's about 6 of us, and we I didn't want to distract and it become about selling our product or our merch. Like I really want gently used and to be more sustainable and not ad.
Yeah.
But we rolled this out specifically with our ambassadors, and everybody just loved them. And so we started brainstorming, and Carlista, who I work with on the marketing side, I said, well, what do you think about doing it limited? Because I don't know if we want to manage inventory all year round and have to keep ordering or potentially waste if it's, doesn't sell. And she goes, what if we did a limited time? She goes, well, what if we did a limited, but this was for the benefit of a nonprofit that we care about?
Mhm.
And so I was like, ding, ding, ding. That feels right to me. Like that feels like reason enough for us to do this
Mhm.
periodically. So what we launched just a couple weeks ago is Merch on a Mission. This first round was to benefit Brown Girls Do Ballet, who I'm like a major fangirl of
Mhm.
everything that that organization does.
Yeah.
And so 20% of every order goes directly to that organization. So we'll plan to do that at least twice a year, and then we'll see, maybe more. But our goal for now is uh, focus on what we do well. And if we are doing something extra, it needs to benefit the communities that we care about.
Have you thought about adding any sort of thing on the platform where people can write in for things that they're looking for? Like, hey, I'm
Ooh.
17 and I have to, have a new black leotard for class. And does anybody have something like that to like pair people with, oh yeah, I think I actually might have something like that that I don't need or anything like that?
I have not actually thought about that, but that's a great idea, like almost an in search of section.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I haven't thought about that, but no, that would be a great feature. I mean, we've focused on engagement among the listings, so you can message directly with the sellers. You can make offers, which I think right now 20% of transactions are done as a result of an offer being made.
Which is great because
But
like
we
that's my
haven't.
favorite thing about Poshmark. So I'm really glad that you have
Mhm.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah, a funny fact, again, I nerd out on these kinds of things with the data, but we did the messaging first, and I thought for sure, our team thought as well, that would be result into negotiation, like, "Hey, I love your item, would you go?" Eh, People don't wanna talk that directly, like even sending a message was off-putting, and
Mm,
so we switched to where all you have to do is press and you type in whatever number and there's no talking, and all of a sudden, whoosh, all the
that's
offers
awesome.
went up. And yeah, so it's kind of these uh what people are or not comfortable with is always super interesting. But no, I'll add that to one of our brainstorming items, because I think that would be really beneficial and help drive listings if you know there's a buyer on the other side.
'Cause I think the way that I found your site was I think I was looking for there was, like, some leotard that they had sold out of my size, or it was an old one that I had been saving up for, and then they didn't have it anymore, so I was like, "Oh, I guess I'll, maybe see if, like, Poshmark or eBay or somebody has it," and then you popped up, and I'm
Mhm,
like, "Where has this been? This is, like, the best site
mhm,
ever." But yeah, so a lot of my looking for new dance wear sometimes I like to go and browse, but a lot of times it's I need something specifically for a gig or that thing that I couldn't get or
mhm,
whatnot. But your site is so beautiful, and I can attest that, the photos are gorgeous. What you get in person matches the photo exactly. Your descriptions are always really great. And I mean, even something like you were saying, if you did have a leotard where like the straps are all stretched out, I bet there's somebody out there that's like, "Oh my gosh, that's my size, but it wasn't like long enough for me, and I actually would love the stretched out
mhm.
strap ones." That it's just
Totally.
it's really honest and it's really clear and it's really accessible for everybody, which I love and I just think is so great. So,
Well,
what
thank
would
you.
yeah, what would you like, anything else that you'd like viewers to know about your site or where they can go to find you, or things that you need from us in support? What can we be doing to support you?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, helping getting the word out that this exists helps continue to build more product and just make it a better experience. Obviously, the more active participants, the more people we can bring to one location, the
Mhm.
more opportunities for, making money or saving money is kind of the way we look at it. I would add that I mentioned with selling, but I have thought is kind of fun is seeing these dancers. I have like two dancers I can think of, one of which is at a ballet conservatory. Another one is an adult dancer. This can be a business as well. So like one of the things that we're working on for this next year is to help give our recipe for acquiring dancewear to other students so that they could start, or other dancers, or anyone, dance moms, right, who are looking to get some extra money. It doesn't have to be limited to your own closet.
Mhm.
Maybe you work with your other dancers and you buy their dancewear up front, and then you go and sell it, or you take it on consignment and you take a piece. So there are ways to also look at this as an opportunity to make money
Mhm.
and to run a little side business. So
Yeah,
that's just one
you
thing I
have
wanted to.
somebody who makes leg warmers that, like, just runs their business on your site, right?
Oh, thank you so much for saying that, because I would have felt so sad if I didn't highlight this aspect of the platform, because I am very, very passionate about this. Is one of the things that we're cautious. I said it obviously at the beginning because it's just the most concise way to say, yeah, we're a thrift shop. But long term, and what I view the platform to be is more holistic than that. So I want to support small and growing dancewear brands. So we have a dancewear brand, Momaco. We have Blue Label, Bluebird, Madame Stacy. So we have some of these dancewear makers. They're custom, beautiful products, and you can shop small and support small business designers finding something totally unique that no one has through the Tutulist platform. And those are new. Like a lot of it is custom, and everything is new from that shop small section on our site. But one of the things I am excited about Tutulist helping to solve is for each of these dancewear designers, they set up an Etsy store or their own Shopify store. And now they're trying to build their own interest and their
Mhm.
own, social media presence. And what Tutulist offers is getting product in front of dancers who want something unique. And so that's one of the areas of our business we're excited to keep growing out. So if anyone knows of any dancewear designers who are looking to help get their product in front of, excited dancers, send them our way. But that's a very like near and dear initiative to my heart, and I'm hoping that over time we become new and used for again, a more inclusive community. A lot of, the major dancewear, like Discount Dance, you have to have an unbelievable amount of sales for them to ever consider bringing on a SKU onto their platform, which is fine. That makes sense. That's traditional and I get it. And that's one of the things that we're trying to combat to make room for smaller players.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like, I'm a huge fan of Barretto Dancewear, and she pretty much only sells on Etsy, and a lot of other great places only sell on Etsy. And I would describe Tutu List as Etsy meets Poshmark, which is just the absolute best of both
Yes.
worlds. And who was the company that made the leg warmers that you sent me in my welcome kit?
Momaco.
They are
Yes.
the softest leg warmers I have ever used, and this was also really fun for me. I've never had just, like, the shorty leg warmers that just go, like, sort of right under the knee,
Yep.
and it's that's the thing with trying things is it's like, well, if I wanna, lay down, 40 to $50 to try it and see if I like it, but it's very affordable on your site. But I got them, I'd never used them before, and I wore them to class the other day, and I'm like, "These are cute, and they're perfect for my calves, and they're the softest things ever," and everybody was coming up and touching them, and I was saying, "It's a special company that's only on Tutu List," so you're
Yeah.
really doing some wonderful things and showcasing some wonderful products.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to Kristen who runs Momaco, which
Mhm,
it's her daughter's a professional dancer who actually I taught
mhm.
when she was younger, and she's modeled for our platform. And so that's kind of how we got connected. But growing up, she couldn't afford a Yumiko.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so she's a seamstress. So she designed a Yumiko looking leotard. And her daughter said, who needs a Yumiko when you have a Mamako?
Yeah,
And that's kind of how
aw.
it started, which is fun. But has so much attention to detail. And like, as
Mhm.
an example, her shorts, uh, her daughter's like, every time I do a develope with any of these big name brands, which I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, she's like, but they rides up and
Yeah.
you have to unpick and whatever. So they work together to design shorts that won't ride up, that are
Mm.
still warm and beautiful and high end looking. So it's a really fun. Anyone who buys from her shop just loves the product, and it's always exciting seeing something gain traction.
Tell her I want a full-size romper.
I will. She doesn't do rompers yet, but
No, they'd be the best
yeah,
rompers ever.
I know, I know. But she just rolled out the skirts that are they're like flowy, like chiffon skirts, but rather
Oh.
than wrap, it's
Mhm.
elastic and it supports small to extra large. And
That's
so
really
it's
cool.
and they look beautiful. So that's coming to the site in the next couple weeks.
And speaking of that, I also was so excited to see the diversity in the ambassadors that you chose this year, and not just in terms of the physical being of the people that you chose, but also the wide variety of styles. I'm so
Mhm.
used to knowing that I would never even be considered for something like that because I'm not a YAGP star and I'm not like in a classical dance company. But you have Broadway performers wear dancewear too and go to ballet class and all that, and contemporary dancers and hip hop dancers, and you really represent a wide array of what the dance community is, and I was so excited to see that.
Thank you. Yeah, and we want to do more of that. Like I said, my background's in ballet, so it's an easy place for me to go to. But
Mhm.
what we want is, to support a healthy, thriving dance community.
Mhm.
in all of its forms. And I actually recall reading your application and
Uh-huh.
going, we're thinking small. Like, I haven't even thought of theater, performing like uh, theater and Broadway. And I got so excited at going, by reviewing your thoughts and your excitement. I thought there's more for us to do, and it's so exciting when to be able to connect with someone like you and
Thank you.
go, here's another community that we can engage with, and
Yeah.
that's so fulfilling but also so important, I think.
Mhm. Well, I found myself being a little bit of an ambassador in that I am obviously very rooted in the Broadway community, but I do classical dance and it's part of my training. And I found that the classical dance world can be very insular. And, most of the Broadway artists that I work with, they're going to Lululemon and they're going to general, Aloe and, athleisure, athletic wear, maybe Nike or something occasionally. And I've been able to be like, no, all this stuff that's like super cute, like I've gotten from dancewear companies that mainly cater
Mhm,
to ballet dancers, but it's for all of us. And, you don't
mhm,
have to be wearing a leotard and tights, but they also make leotard and tights that are way more comfortable and flattering now than they used to. And I've been really
mhm,
honored to be able to introduce a lot of my fellow performers to avenues like Tutulist, where it's like, no, there's a
mhm.
lot of other things, and you don't have to, just be getting stuff from Lululemon. That the dancewear community is not just insular to ballet dancers; it's for everybody, which I don't think was
Total.
always true.
No, certainly even just with sizing. I mean, it's like if you're, just a normal human,
Yeah.
sometimes, dancewear, can be very not at all inclusive and
Mhm.
not at all there's a message that like you don't belong, unless
Mhm.
you fit a certain, cookie cutter type. And I've been really encouraged to see so many brands actively, it's not about fighting it, it's about challenging it and just
Yeah.
questioning and saying, like the adult dance community is
Mhm.
like my favorite community in the entire world.
Yeah.
Like so active. They dress pretty amazing. Like they always have like the best dance wear. It's so cute. And the other thing that's kind of fun, just on that same note, in terms of dance wear having evolved, like with bodysuits and just normal fashion right now, like everybody loves bodysuits and a little bit more form fitting.
Yeah.
Like dancewear is so well constructed. And
Mhm.
so like I would rather get something, even Maria or, it doesn't even have to be Elevate or the crazy expensive brands. It's going to be better constructed than an H&M bodysuit,
Oh,
So even just in
100%.
terms of daily fashion, I kind of like that
Yeah.
ballet core is a thing. So,
Well, and no, it's true, and it's one of the things that I've discovered, and it's gotten me just sort of more into fashion as a human being. But so I've been working on a lot of plays recently, and I've actually found that I've been wearing dance wear constantly with play rehearsals because a
mhm,
lot of times it's
mhm,
physical. Sometimes there are moments where you're supposed to have layers on if you have a leotard underneath anything, or
mhm,
there's like a romantic scene or something. It's like the perfect thing to just have on, and
mhm,
everything's great. And then I think there was one day in rehearsal that I was going straight from rehearsal to like an event, and I wore just one of my pretty leotards for rehearsal with like, just some pants over it or something.
mhm.
And then I brought like a really pretty skirt and I just threw that on over the leotard with some heels. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, where did you get that bodysuit? It's the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, well, dancewear is for you.
Yeah.
And
Right?
it's
Yeah.
great and it's for everything. And I'm so glad that it's starting to cross over into these different worlds. Because I found it very beneficial. So
Totally. Yeah,
yeah.
same here. And now my new challenge is I haven't taken a ballet class in a while, and
Yeah.
this adult ballet community and ballet fashion and dance fashion. I kind of have a challenge to like get back in the studio because I think the dance world's a little bit more welcoming as
Yeah.
time has progressed. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, where can everybody find you? What's your website? What's your social media? What's the best way for everybody to look you up?
yeah, so you can check out our platform. It's tutulist.com. That's tutulist.com. Or check us out on Instagram. That's where we're most active. Is our handle is just tutulist, and so I think we have some. Uh, I like our social media. I love the person who does our social media. So I think that's a great, first step if you're like wanting to kind of test the waters and wanting to get to know us better. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And I'll put all the links and everything for everyone below so you can just click on it and check it out. But
perfect.
thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for all the wonderful things that you're doing. It's so nice to get to talk to you. I'm so honored to be a part of the Tutulist team, and I'm sure that everything's just going to continue growing by leaps and bounds because you're wonderful and you have a wonderful company,
Thank you.
and I'm so excited for what you're doing.
Good. Well, thank you so much. And I sincerely so appreciate this opportunity to come on here. So I thank you very, very much.
Of course, anytime.